Aven Vale first saw the woman die on a Tuesday evening. It happened at the subway station. Rainwater dripped from people's coats. A saxophone player echoed through the tunnel. Somewhere behind him, a little kid was crying over a dropped ice cream. Norma. Until Aven looked up. A woman in a dark red coat stood near the edge of the platform. And suddenly, a violent image slammed into his mind. Her body hitting the tracks. The sound of screaming, blood spreading beneath the train lights. Aven froze so hard he nearly dropped his coffee. Then the vision disappeared. Everything looked normal again. The woman was still alive, standing exactly where she had been. Aven stared at her, breathing unevenly. He had experienced déjà vu before. Everyone had. That strange feeling that a moment has already happened. Scientists say déjà vu is caused by a tiny delay in the brain's memory system. Your mind accidentally processes the present like a memory, creating the illusion that you've lived it before. But this wasn't a feeling. Aven hadn't felt her death. He had seen it. And then the woman turned around and looked directly at him, as if she knew. Her name was Lyra Foss. She smiled when she caught him staring. "You okay?" Aven opened his mouth, but nothing came out, because another image hit him, this time stronger. Someone in a gray hoodie moving behind her, a hand reaching forward. A chauffeur. The train, roaring into the station. Aven reacted instantly. He grabbed Lyra's arm and pulled her backward just as a man brushed aggressively past them toward the platform edge. The train exploded through the tunnel seconds later. Lyra looked shaken. What the hell was that? Aven couldn't answer, because deep down, something terrifying had already begun forming in his mind. What if déjà vu wasn't memory? What if it was prediction? That night, Aven couldn't sleep. At 2:13 a.m., he sat alone in his apartment scrolling through old neuroscience files from the company he used to work for, Novarin Systems. Most of it was harmless research, memory behavior, pattern recognition, temporal perception. Then he found a hidden file. Echo frame. Restricted access. Aven frowned. He didn't remember creating a password for it, but somehow, his fingers typed the code automatically. The folder opened, and his blood went cold. Inside were surveillance photos of him. Dozens of them. Different dates, different clothes, different versions of the same subway station. At the top of the screen, one line appeared. Subject has begun remembering again. Aven leaned back slowly. Again? The deeper he dug, the worse it became. Years earlier, Novarin Systems had started a classified experiment studying extreme déjà vu cases. Their theory was disturbing. The human brain may sometimes detect fragments of events before they happen. Not supernatural visions, not magic, just information arriving too early, like reality echoing ahead of itself. Most people experienced it for only seconds, but some minds, rare minds, could experience entire future moments before they occurred. Aven was one of them. Except there was something even worse hidden in the files. Every subject eventually became unstable. Paranoia, hallucinations, memory collapse. One test subject repeatedly wrote the same sentence across an entire wall. "The future keeps remembering me." Over the next few days, Aven's episodes became more violent. A stranger spilling coffee, a phone ringing, a car accident outside his apartment. He saw everything seconds before it happened, and every time it happened exactly the same way. Until one night, Lyra appeared outside his building, terrified. "I think someone's following me," she whispered. Then she looked at him carefully. "I've seen you before." Aven felt his stomach tighten, not because she recognized him, but because he suddenly remembered her too, not from the subway, from somewhere older, somewhere erased. The memory returned in pieces. A laboratory underground. Machines humming in darkness. Lyra crying. Aven screaming at scientists to run it again. Then the truth hit him. Years ago, Lyra had died during an accident connected to Novarin's experiments. Aven couldn't accept it. So he built a system designed to replay consciousness through fragmented timelines again and again until he found a version where she survived, and he had succeeded. But every reset damaged reality. That was déjà vu, not a glitch in the brain. Fragments of broken timelines bleeding into human memory. The entire world was unconsciously remembering lives that no longer existed. When Aven finally returned to the abandoned Novern facility beneath the city, the machine was still running. A massive black sphere pulsed slowly in the dark like a mechanical heart. The echo frame. Lyra stared at it in horror. "You kept restarting everything? For me?" Aven said nothing, because he already knew the final truth. The original Aven Vale had died years ago during the first experiment. The version standing here now was only an echo left behind by the repeated loops, a copied consciousness, a memory pretending to be alive. Warning alarms suddenly erupted across the chamber. System failure detected. Reality instability rising. Lyra looked at him through tears. "If this thing keeps running," Aven nodded quietly, "everything collapses. And if you shut it down?" He looked at her for a long moment, then smiled sadly. "I disappear with it." The room began shaking violently. Lights burst overhead. For a brief second, Aven saw hundreds of different lives flashing around them. In one, Lyra died. In another, they grew old together near the ocean. In another, they never met at all. Infinite realities, infinite echoes. Lyra grabbed his hand desperately. There has to be another way. But Aven already knew there wasn't. Maybe some things were never meant to be undone. He stepped toward the machine, then stopped. "One day," he said softly, "people will call it déjà vu." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. That feeling that this moment already happened. Aven looked at her one last time. Maybe it's just memory surviving after reality fails. And then he shut the machine down. 3 months later, a crowded subway station. Rain tapping softly against the city streets above. Lyra stood near the platform holding a coffee in both hands. Then suddenly, a strange feeling washed over her. Varm. Familiar. Like hearing part of a forgotten song. She turned. A man walked past her through the crowd. Dark coat. Calm eyes. Beautifully familiar. He slowed slightly as he passed. Almost like he recognized her. Almost. Then he smiled politely and disappeared into the moving crowd. Lyra stood frozen, heart racing. A tear slipped quietly down her face. And for the first time in her life, she understood what déjà vu really was.